Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka Savage Tech Man. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Geek Homeworld. I'm your host, Ed, and we're here today with a box office report. This is episode 163 of the Geek Homeworld podcast. You'll see it if you're watching the video on YouTube at Geek Homeworld. Please go over there and subscribe to the Geek Homeworld channel. And you can watch these videos, a video version of this. Smash that thumbs up button on the video, like, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. And anyway, we are back on this one. We're going to do a box office report here and some numbers I pulled up from boxofficemojo.com. And we're going to look at not just this past weekend's box office, but we're also going to look at the box office for where we stand this year versus previous years during the pandemic and pre-pandemic, pandemic, and we're going to see where we're at. And you may be surprised by some of the thoughts on this. I personally still think we're coming out of the pandemic, or we're seeing the effects of productions that were halted and, pushed back and everything, to no fault of anybody else, in the industry. But we, a lot of schedules the last 2 or 3 years were pushed and smashed all around everywhere. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit in depth and to see where we're at. But I personally think that we're still behind. We're not seeing until maybe we get to Fast X coming out, or Fast and Furious, whatever, 10, whatever they're calling it, X. I think that's going to open big, and we're going to talk about what broke a bunch of records this weekend. And as we're recording this on April 11th, and it's Tuesday, I think, 2023. So we're looking back at this past weekend and the actual box office. We'll look at that and we'll look at the yearly. But what I wanted to say is please like and subscribe if you're watching the video. You'll see our Instagram is Geek Homeworld. YouTube, we're Geek Homeworld. Go there and like and subscribe. Our the podcast is Geek Homeworld on Twitter. We've got a presence there as well. It's Geek Homeworld. So it's pretty much Geek Homeworld wherever you go. And we're on Instagram as, I believe we're Geek Homeworld on there as well. I'm waiting for the scroll on the bottom. Okay. So please watch the video too. And if you like listening to the podcast, you can even go on YouTube, and just, it uploads an audio. Purposely, I upload an audio version. It's just static, so there's nothing on the screen, just our Geek Homeworld logo. So that way you can listen along, if you listen to your podcast through YouTube, which is becoming a thing. And there is a difference between podcast and YouTube channels, but now YouTube's getting into podcasts, and that's a talk for another time, I guess, on another episode. But anyway, please like and subscribe. Go to YouTube there. And so we're about to get into it, but I wanted to mention one more thing. We started another podcast, and there's it's called Splorin, SPLORIN with us, Sploring with us, and me and my wife do it, and it's where we go to different places and have different experiences, and then we have like a weekly challenge for our listeners. It's basically a fun travel and adventure podcast, and it's just laid back and a lot of fun. And it's just interesting adventures that we come across, and moving to a new city and making those adjustments and finding new and fun and different things that we'd like to spotlight. And not sponsored by anybody, so, people will get plugs for their businesses and stuff like that and different things, but it's just because we're featuring them, and it's not because we're being sponsored yet by anybody, but maybe someone will come along and want to sponsor us. That would be nice. But anyway, Exploring with Us right now is existing. The video, just to clarify for some people, and I'm sorry to get this house cleaning out the way. I want to get it done before, because I hadn't mentioned it on other episodes, but we've done 3 episodes to the recording of this particular episode of Geek Homeworld podcast. You can find Exploring with Us anywhere that you find get your podcasts and stuff like that. It's actually going to be under the Geek Homeworld banner, so it's essentially it's on geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. You'll see the different icon, and eventually I'm still working up the podcast. It's in its beginning stages, but we're getting tremendous support from people listening around the world, and a lot of our listeners, and we appreciate following us on social media, Exploring with Us on Instagram, Twitter. And then the podcast is hosted on Libsyn. It's under the Geek Homeworld feed there. So just to clarify, in case any of you tech people want to know how we're doing it, I haven't created a separate thing for Exploring with Us yet. So Geek Homeworld at Libsyn.com is the main site for the audio podcast. So that's where it's being hosted from. And then I upload to the Geek Homeworld YouTube channel. So that's why it's important you go to YouTube on Geek Homeworld if you want to see the video versions of Exploring with Us, our new podcast. And we've had a tremendous positive response from people, so thank you so much for that. And so I don't want to yap and talk away too long, but I need to get a bit of house cleaning, as I call it, out of the way. And I'm using a different camera today, so if you see me kind of looking up at a different direction, I've got another camera, but I'm using the camera in my computer right here. So my computer is actually in the shop. It's a bit of an old computer, but it's having its issues. But don't we all? So anywho, let's get into it. Let's dive into the numbers, because I'm a numbers kind of guy. I love charts and top 10 lists. You might be able to see behind me here, I've got my... what do you call it? It's a turntable, Victrola turntable. It's got USB and all that stuff, and Bluetooth and such like that. But I'm getting back into playing albums. It was a gift that my sister got for me a couple of years ago, and finally, once we moved up here, I've actually found more of a use for it, and trying to put my studio together, which it's still not where I want it to be. So. You can see some of my backdrop. It looks familiar to previous Geek Homeworld podcasts. So anyway, I'm just excited to see everybody. We're about 8 minutes in here, well, roughly, maybe more or less, into the podcast here as I'm just talking away. But anyway, that's all important. Okay, so bottom line, please go to our social media for Geek Homeworld. You can also go to Exploring with Us, sign in, log in, like, subscribe, follow, smash the like buttons, whatever you got to do on the appropriate media. So let's get into it. The reason why we're here on this episode, our box office report, we're looking at a very historic weekend. And we saw the Super Mario Brothers movie just burst onto the scene with $146,361,865 playing at 4,343 theaters in the country. It is the biggest video game adaptation of a movie, and I have not seen it yet. I'm one of the only people that hasn't seen it, and some people I know have online has said they've already seen it twice. They saw it twice in the same weekend, and I won't call that crazy, because I've seen movies like Star Wars and Avengers when they come out. I've seen them, Terminator and stuff like that. I've seen like 3 or 4 times, in a day. So I won't throw shade at anybody for that if you love it. But if you're going in the Super Mario Brothers movie, quick mini review of that. From what I'm hearing, and I have not seen it, I'm not a big Mario fan. I've played the different Mario games, love them, of course. They're fantastic. But it doesn't have much of a plot, but it's almost 100% what I've seen called 100% fan service. And what some franchises can't seem to do with their franchises, and changing everything and just messing things up and not giving the fans exactly what they want. Apparently this Super Mario Brothers movie just hits all those points, and the sayings in the game, just the characters and everything is exactly what you'd expect. So it's really leaving it hard for anyone who's like a hardcore kind of fan of the Super Mario Brothers. I'm already calling it a franchise. Everybody's calling it a franchise because that's basically what it is. I can see it spawned off a bunch of different movies from the different characters and such. But basically, if you're going in looking for like Oscar worthy, or you're looking for a plot, even you're going to get a loose kind of story with Super Mario Brothers maybe, but you're going to have a very fun time, especially if you're a Mario fan. You're going to totally love this film, and I don't know if it'll end up being I think it'll be one of the top films of the year if the box office keeps going. If the second week is anything like the first week was, of course, it's going to have a major drop off, like a lot of releases are, front ended or whatever they call it, heavy loaded on the front end of it. Their opening weekend box office is usually pretty staggering, and then there's a drop off. But we'll see that next week or in the weeks to come. I think the movie's going to have a lot of legs. I think it's going to bring a lot of people back, especially Super Mario Brothers fans. So I'm Mario. You have to say that. And that's got Chris. I almost said Chris Tucker. I almost said Chris Pine. We just saw Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is a fantastic film, and we'll talk about it in a second, briefly. We're actually going to have a separate review coming up, probably in another episode of that. So there's a little sneak peek on the Geek Homeworld here, because that's got Chris Pine, but it's Chris. I'm Star-Lord, man. I can't think of his name. Oh, I hate that I can't think of his name, but I guess I could click on here and find out. Yeah, there we go. Well, here's the box office. Here's the gross real quick. We had domestic gross when you count in the 5 day. It was a 5 day weekend from Wednesday through Sunday. So that's actually a pretty big, even though it did the 146,000 opening. When it came on April 5th there. So it basically ran 8 out of 5 days, which is a little bit unusual, but it did just shy of 205,000 domestic, international just short of 171, worldwide $375 million. So fantastic. Anyway, I can't find the cast information here. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Nope. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, we're not gonna do that then. Okay, we're not doing that then. All right. Okay. Bear with me here. Okay. So going back, I messed up my whole pattern here. So anyway, that was number one was Super Mario Bros. With 146 million for the weekend. In its third week out, John Wick Chapter 4, which came out in March, which March really kind of kicked off the season. Like really has amped up the 2023 domestic box office and international to an extent. But John Wick Chapter 4 with Keanu Reeves, fantastic film. I loved it. It's to me the best one in the series. The action is top notch. We talked about it. There's a previous episode on Geek Homeworld. Wherever you listen to your podcast to, or if you go to the Geek Homeworld YouTube channel, you can see the video version of that. But I did do a John Wick Chapter 4 film review of that, and totally love the film, and I would go see it again. I would say see it on a big screen with has excellent sound design, so you really want to get to that. But anyway, John Wick in its third week is down to, it dropped almost 50%, but it's pulled in 146,000, which is not bad. A lot of films will kill for that, especially post-pandemic as we are. We're still, and like I said, we're going to look at the box office. We're not there yet. We're starting to get, those numbers are getting close to the pre-pandemic numbers, but we're not there yet. I think Fast X is going to open big. I think Fast 10, whatever it's called, Fast and Furious, the X, whatever it's, I think it's going to open really big. And like Super Mario opened very big, broke a bunch of records. Like I said, biggest video game adaptation, 5 day weekend, all that. There was about 4 or 5 different records that Super Mario Brothers movie shattered. With its opening this weekend. And anyway, number 3, a movie that I know a couple of people have already seen that really thought it was a very good movie, Air, it's about the Michael Jordan shoe, and Nike going through all that and naming it and coming up with the process of it. And I still want to see that. I hear it's a very good film. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, it's always good to see them on film together. So I hear it's a triumph of a film. So I want to check that out. But it's pulled in 20 million so far, which is pretty good. So its first weekend, it opened at number 3. I mean, it's not a great opening, but Air's not a movie that has the kind of budget that maybe a John Wick might have, or maybe a Marvel film or a Disney film or something like that. It's not as big of a budget because it's not special effects and stuff like that. So anyway, falling from number 1 in its second week to number 4, which is almost a 63% slides. It's not good. I mean, that's a little extreme, but usually a 50% drop is normal for a film. Like I talked about them being front loaded essentially with the box office. Everybody goes out, the true fans. I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons fan. I know of the tabletop game, etc., but that's about it, and I knew nothing about it going in to see the film, and went and saw it with some family for my birthday weekend celebration. And if you go to Exploring With Us, episode 003, you will see and hear some of the fun stuff we did. And we talked about Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. We got to go see it, some family and friends, and it was just a really fun movie. And Chris Pine did a fantastic job of really setting the tone for the humor in there, and can't say enough about that, how good that was. And so, kudos to Chris Pine. I think, even if this film, it's only made $61 million in 2 weeks, but almost just shy of 14 and falling from number 1 to number 4. I don't know if this film's going to have much legs, but if you want a good, fun movie to see, of course, Super Mario Brothers movie would be that film, but Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, totally enjoyable film. Really liked it. Scream 6 is still having a good run. It's past the $100 million mark there, with about 3.4 million, falling from number 4 to number 5. His only son, from Angel Studios, it's done about 10 million. It's Easter film. It's about essentially Abraham and and sacrificing his son and all that, or sounds like a good film. I want to see it, but a very timely film for the Easter season. So it opened pretty well for a film in that genre. Creed 3 is still hanging on. It dropped about 45%, pulling about 2.7 for the weekend, down from number 5, dropping out of the top 5 to number 7. It's made about 153 million, so it's done well. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, it's pulled out of about 1,200 and almost 50 more cinemas, and it dropped another 60-something% there. It's abysmal failure, box office-wise. I didn't even want to go see it, which is sad. I mean, I'm sure it's not a bad film. I feel like if I watched it, I would enjoy it because I love the first Shazam. I thought it was good. It was lighthearted. It was a good story, and I'll still watch it if it comes on. But this one, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, just so many things wrong there. Warner Brothers, DC having all the issues and trying to restructure, and what James Gunn is doing over there. And anyway, Shazam! Fury of the Gods is just falling again, only pulling in 1.5 million in its fourth week. It's only made 56 million total domestic gross or whatever, so that's abysmal. It's nothing. There's no way to call it anything but a financial failure. And it's a shame because Zachary Levi, I think, is great in the role. And, of course, there's cast and crew, the people you don't see on screen, the crew and all that. It's still something I'm sure anybody that's worked on the film is proud of, the film. And, it's a shame because I wanted it to be really good. Now, the Flash movie with all the issues, with Ezra on that, it's just, hopefully Ezra Miller, hopefully that trailer looks fantastic. Hopefully that film's going to do well. Rumor that Grant Gustin is going to replace Ezra Miller in the DC Universe as the Flash. Maybe that'll be the twist at the end of the film. I don't know, because they're playing with like multiverses and stuff like that. And essentially, it's a Flashpoint comic, which was fantastic, one of the best DC put out. And if you ever get a chance to check that animated DVD, that's something, or Blu-ray, whatever you want to call it, the animated Flashpoint movie, whatever you want to call it, animated movie. You should check that out. That it's roughly based on. It's really good, and one of the best at DC. That's where DC's strongest was. It still is to an extent. Their animated releases, and let's see. So anyway, that's pretty much the top 10 there. Let's see. Let's look at domestic box offices for 2023. Where do we stand so far? And this is calendar grosses. Avatar: Way of the Water is the number one film as of the recording of this on April 11th, 2023. That could change, but I don't think it's at 281,625,000. So 281 million, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is at 212. I don't think it's going to pack on enough to overtake Avatar. Now, Super Mario, in its opening weekend, is already the number 3 domestic box office film of the year. Because we're only 4 months. We're in April. We're in April. You have 2023 right now, so early April. So we're looking at, Super Mario Brothers, I think, will eclipse Ant-Man and the Wasp easily. And we have some other big releases like Fast and Furious 10, whatever it's called. Somebody tell me what it's called. It's coming out, and it's going to eclipse it. I think that's going to open big. We'll see. And there may be some surprises, hopefully, along this year. And let's see. But so we got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania at 212 million, just barely over the 200 million. A budget that's probably close to the budget of the film. So, and not to think what they spent on it to promote the film, and not to pile on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I did like it, but I didn't love it, and I wanted. Paul Rudd is fantastic, but I don't know. They went too serious with this one, and I don't know. It just didn't hit on all cylinders like it should have, I think. But, you be the judge of that. And that's the thing is, it's not hate this, dislike this because this isn't this way or that isn't that way. You need to judge a film on what you like, your personal tastes or whatever is exactly what your personal taste is. And, you like what you like and I like what I like, and that's, whatever it is. But box office wise, numbers don't lie, and it's not been a good time for Marvel, especially kicking off the phase number 5, phase 5 of the MCU. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania went kind of more serious against the tone of the film, and putting Ant-Man against Kang just didn't really seem like a fair matchup anyway. But and so we'll see how Marvel pivots and how they recover. They've always done well, and I have faith in them that they will right this ship, as it were. So Super Mario Brothers, number 3, just over 204 million, and its very first weekend out. Creed 3, 100 back a little ways at 153, number 4 for the year. John Wick Chapter 4 at 146. It's probably not going to change too much. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is number 6 for the year, 129 million. Scream 6 at 103. And a movie I want to see, I didn't get to see in theaters, but Megan, it sounded very interesting. It rounds out, it's at number 8 with 95 million. A Man Called Otto, another film I wanted to see that I didn't get out to see. I didn't get out to see a lot of films earlier this year with moving and everything else and life, happening. But A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks so far is at 64 million, a little farther back. At number 9 for the year, domestic box office wise, and Cocaine Bear rounds out the top 10 with 64 million. Now, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves does have a chance to maybe, if it makes about $3 million more, which I think is doable, it could jump into the top 10 and knock Cocaine Bear out, which was a surprise hit. Shazam: Fury of the Gods is down at number 12 for the year as of this recording, with 56 million. So I don't think it's not gonna pack on much more. So we'll see about that. Now let's look at the year. So this is what I was talking about earlier, and obviously we're not in all the way. Let's go back first to. So we just crossed the $2 billion mark. If you're watching the video, it's a little easier to follow along, but I'll try to make it for those just listening easy for you. The 2023 box office, Avatar: Way of the Water, is still our number one domestic box office film for the year. And we've got just over $2 billion total gross box office off of 196 releases. So we're not there at all yet. But go back to 2022 when Top Gun Maverick was the number one film. We ended up the year at $7.3 billion, which is up almost 65% over 2021, and we had 496 films. So now I'm going to skip back a little bit farther. Let's go pre-pandemic, okay? And we're going to have to go back. Let's see how far we'll go back. Let's just go back to 2019. The box office was down a little bit from 2018's $11.8 billion. It was $11.36 billion. And we had 910 releases. That's 2019. The number one film was Avengers End Game. And number one film domestically in the U.S. Of 2019, pre-pandemic. Then 2020 came and the pandemic hit. And then, of course, everything around, March 16th, roughly, right around St. Patrick's Day is when everything started closing down. I think theaters closed down then. And don't want to relive all that. Thank God we made it for those who did. And God bless those who didn't. And we all lost a lot there. But anyway, box office-wise, we were down 81.4% for 2020 on the domestic box office there. And the number one film ended up being Will Smith and I can't think of his name. I'm terrible with names. Bad Boys for Life. So obviously there were hardly any films. All the theaters were closed down for a while there. So we went from 11.3 billion down to only 2 billion in 2020. So we always knew it'd be just heading up from there, and it's still going to just keep increasing. So 2021, Spider-Man No Way Home, $1 billion film. We had, believe it or not, we had 456 releases in 2020 with Bad Boys for Life. Releases 910 in 2019. So we went down to 456 releases. And then we went down even further into 2021. See the effects of productions being stopped. So we had less films, but Spider-Man No Way Home and other films, it was the number one film of the year, but it being $1 billion helped out with our 4.4 billion. So we more than doubled it. We're up 112%, 112.1 to be accurate. 2020's domestic yearly box office over 2020's, right? So you can see the recovery coming back. And then 2022, we pile on a few more films with Top Gun Maverick, another $1 billion film. Top Gun being the number one film, beating out Avatar: Way of the Water, because if you look at it, Avatar: Way of Water was released in December of 2022, but the way it tracked, it still didn't beat the overall gross of it. It's technically a 2022 movie, but enough of its box office carried over to 2023 that it's still the number one film of the year, and it'll track, and obviously in the top 10, maybe top 5 for 2023 when all is said and done for domestic box office, because it's done well over 2 billion, but it's less than that in domestic box office, but worldwide, Anyway, whatever. So in saying that, in 2022, we increased almost 65% from 4.4 billion in 2021 to 7.3, with only not 30, 40 more films, 496, just under 500 films for 2022. And then we get to 2023, we've only got 196 in the bag, but that's only because we're only in April at this point, so but we already crossed 2 billion, so I think we're going to have a significant increase. But that's what I wanted to kind of go over, how the amount of releases, if you're watching the video especially, you can see here on screen. We went from 900 in 2019 to 400, or almost 500, let's say, by 2022. So, we went down and now we're coming back. You can see the industries is coming back. So worldwide, let's look at 2023, the worldwide box office. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is sitting at worldwide $474 million. And 212 of that's domestic, and 261 is foreign. So the worldwide total is 474. And so far, nothing's close to that. Way back at 268 is John Wick Chapter 4, which is pretty impressive. And 146 of that is domestic, and 122 is foreign. So it's, it's almost level there, pretty much. Where Ant-Man's 55% of that is foreign box office versus domestic 44.9 on that. Number 3 for the year 2023 worldwide box office is Creed 3 with 267 million. 153 of that is domestic. 113 of that is from the foreign market. Number 4 for the year, Scream 6, 161 million worldwide, 103 domestic, and 57 million foreign. So it's more domestic winner there. It did much better here. Pathan is 128.7. 17 of that is from here. 73% of its box office, or 95 million, is coming from all the foreign markets. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, believe it or not. This shows how low, even how bad Shazam has done in flopping at the box office. It still pulled in worldwide 127.9 million, basically 128. 56 million of that is here in the domestic market of the U.S. versus 71 or 56% basically in the foreign markets there outside of the U.S. And but with 127 million, normally that wouldn't even get you in the top 10. And we're only, like I said, we're only 4 months in, so a lot's going to change. It's going to fall down much farther. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is number 6 for the year worldwide with 127 million. So the box office around the world, still recovering. So, it may be another year or so before we really get back to maybe pre-pandemic numbers, but we're getting there. I think this year we could really start to be very close to, if not have a few points where we actually spike above the average before the pandemic, of what the box office was, at least on a weekly process there. So we'll see. We'll definitely see about that. But let's see. So Shazam, number 6 for the year. Number 7, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, 123 million, 61 million domestic, and 61.6 domestic, and 61.8 at the recording of this video foreign. So basically, it's split right down the middle. So it's doing as well internationally as it is domestically here. So number 7 for the year right now. Chevy, My Fluffy Friend. Don't know what that is. It's a foreign film. It's not playing. Has no domestic box office numbers, but 90 million. It's number 8. It'll fall out as we get Fast and Furious and other things coming out during this year. Cocaine Bear, number 9 for the year with 83 million, 64 domestic, and 19 foreign. So it is heavily loaded on the domestic side of the box office for Cocaine Bear. Titanic's 25-year anniversary reissue pulled in 66.7 million. So a banner year for James Cameron, which we're going to look at soon with the top films of all time. That's coming up. 15 of that was, or 22.5% was domestic. 51.7 million, or 77.5% of its box office run, which wasn't that long, came from the foreign markets. So number 10 for the year. And then, it goes into other ones. But let's look at the top lifetime grosses. So this is domestic. Okay? Look at domestic. and then we'll look at worldwide. So domestic, this is a record that's still standing, and we'll see what it'll take to knock it off there. But oh boy, what a time it was in 2015, pre-pandemic, and when we believed Star Wars was going to be fantastic and great. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, $936 million at the box office, lifetime gross, domestic. So that's still number one. Not too far behind it. Well, over 100 million behind it, give or take. Number two is Avengers End Game from 2019, pre-pandemic. All this is pre-pandemic, obviously, because we haven't seen that kind of box office yet. And we're going to get back that way eventually, but it's going to take some years, I think. But 858.3, and number two for Avengers End Game. Spider-Man No Way Home. See, and this is the anomaly. You make a really great film that really gives the fan service that people want, kind of like the Super Mario Brothers movie. I don't know if it'll be as big, but Spider-Man No Way Home, in the midst of recovering from the pandemic, is number three top lifetime grosses, domestic-wise, here in the U.S. Number three at $814 million. And that's from 2021. So you can see the recovery there, but it's also about having good films. If we have a couple Spider-Man No Way Homes or some Top Gun Mavericks thrown in, this year we can maybe see some tremendous numbers on the chart. The original Avatar from 2009, $785 million. Fantastic. 2022, here we go. Top Gun Maverick, $718 million. And then you'll see a couple notches down, you'll see Avatar: The Way of Water at number 7. And we'll talk about that. But anyway, number 5 for the top lifetime grosses domestic, $718.7 million from 2022. So you see the recovery, you see us coming back, and just having great movies. And that was a fan service film. It's just a great film. Tom Cruise's film, it broke all kinds of records. It had long legs, kind of like Avatar: Way of the Water did, which surprised a lot of people that didn't think, all these years later after the first Avatar, that they could bring back Avatar and it would be as successful as it was. And not as successful as the first one, but almost as successful. And obviously Top Gun Maverick, I think it's even better than the original film. And $718 million, it's at number 5 for the year. Top lifetime grosses, domestic-wise. All time, yeah. Lifetime, yeah. Black Panther's number 6 with $700 million. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, a far inferior film to the original. Kind of hard to live up to the original, especially losing Chadwick Boseman. Just underperformed, but performed well enough. It did much better than Quantumania. Call it what you want, but still not as Wakanda Forever, not as good of a film as it could have been, But it still didn't do the numbers, $700 million lifetime gross that 2018's Black Panther did, to fall at number 6. Now, Avatar: Way of Water is number 7 on the chart with $682 million. It's pretty much topped out already. So from 2022, another film from 2022. So Top Gun Maverick and Avatar: Way of Water, those box office are, they're counting it all together for that. So it's all being counted together on that chart. So that's where it falls. Number 7, Avatar: Way of Water. And just behind it, Avengers Infinity War at number 8, from 2018 with 678. We have Titanic, another James Cameron, once again, $674 million from 1997. Number 9 for top lifetime domestic grosses. Jurassic World from 2015, and that's another franchise. The last one should have worked, but it didn't. And just didn't like it as much as I thought it would. But 653 rounding out the top 10. And then Avengers, 623 at number 11, and then we go from there. So then, domestic. Let's look at worldwide top lifetime grosses, and then we'll wrap things up here. Avatar lifetime worldwide gross, $2,923,706,026. 26.9% is its domestic box off lifetime gross of 785 million. Its foreign lifetime gross is 2.138 billion. So 26% of the Avatar box office. So it's like loaded on. It did much better. Just like this is the first Avatar and the second Avatar, almost the same metrics here. It did 70%, 73.1% of Avatar from 2009. Its box office came from the foreign market. So as big as Avatar and Avatar: The Way of the Water both are in the U.S., the foreign market is by far, it's like very lopsided, but still a success either way you look at it. And anything filmmaker would kill to be in James Cameron's way there. And by the way, let's speak of that. Number one is Avatar with 2.9 billion. Avatar: Way of Water is number 3, and Titanic is number 4. So 3 of the top 5 films of all time in the worldwide lifetime gross of films are James Cameron films. So never bet against James Cameron. I would love if we could get like another Terminator film up in there. That would be fantastic. But, I got to give up on that hope. But if you put out another Terminator film, I'm going to watch it because I'm a big Terminator fan, and I'll watch it. I'll be there. So anyway, so Avatar is 2.9 worldwide lifetime gross there. But number 2 is Avengers End Game with 2.799. So 2.8, essentially 2.8 billion worldwide. 30% of that's domestic, almost 70% is foreign. So we're looking at 858 domestic and 1.9 billion foreign. It's incredible numbers. Number 3 we said is on the top lifetime grosses worldwide, Avatar: Way of Water with 2.3 billion, 682 domestic, 1.6 billion foreign. So that's 29.5 and 70.5 domestic versus foreign on the box office. So once again, just like Avatar. Number 4 all time worldwide is a 2.261 billion. Worldwide is Titanic from 1997, 674. Domestic at 29.8% of that's domestic gross there, at 1.587 billion or 70.2% of its foreign lifetime gross there. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, $2.071 billion, 936 million of that was the domestic box office at 45.2%, and the foreign was 54.8% or 1.134 billion. So almost even there for the Force Awakens. Avengers Infinity War, it rounds out our $1 billion club, $2 billion club. So 6 films over $2 billion. And this is 2018. But look at that. Avatar: Way of the Water at number 3 is for 2022, even after, post-pandemic, kind of coming out of the pandemic. It can be done. You make a good film that people want to watch over and over again repeatedly, that they love, and you can still have good box office even when things are kind of closed down. But Avengers Infinity War at number 6 with 2.052 billion, 678 domestic gross, 33.1 of that is the domestic, and the 66.9% of its foreign is 1.373 billion. Number 7 from 2021, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Told you it'd be on the list. 1.921 billion worldwide lifetime gross. So very impressive. Very good film. Very much fan service. If you're a fan of any of the Star Wars, listen to me. That's another story. But if you're a fan of the Spider-Man universe, whatever the different incarnations, bringing all the Spider-Men together in that one film and all the villains were just incredible. So good job with Marvel and Sony on that. But 1.921 billion for the number 7 top lifetime gross worldwide. And it's almost split down the middle, but a little bit more on the foreign side. It's all of these really are kind of that way, but especially this one. Spider-Man No Way Home. Most of it is down the lines of more foreign box office than domestic, but 814 million or 42.4% domestic on Spider-Man No Way Home, 1.107 billion or 57.6% of its gross is the foreign lifetime. Jurassic World from 2015, 1.671 billion, 653 or 39.1% domestic, 1 billion and 18 million foreign lifetime gross for almost 61% of its foreign box office there. The Lion King, the 2019 remake, pre-pandemic, 1.663 billion, 543 or 32.7 of its domestic, and 1.19, 67.3 of the foreign there. And then Avengers at 1.520 billion worldwide, 623 million or 41% domestic, and 897 or 59% on its foreign lifetime gross there. And now I'm just going to mention a couple more just right outside the top 10. Furious 7 was the biggest one of the whole franchise. Now we're coming up to Fast and Furious 10 or X. And I wonder if it's possibly supposedly going to be the last in the series. We'll see. Let's see, do some kind of spin-offs or whatever. I don't know. But Vin Diesel and the crew there, they for Furious 7, they had 1.5 billion. So we'll see if the new one comes anywhere close to that. That was from 2015. So that was 353 billion. 23.3% of that was domestic, and 1.1 billion of that, or 76.7 of that, was its foreign lifetime gross. And then we have Top Gun Maverick at number 12, 1.493 billion, 718 or 48.1% domestic, and 774 or 51.9%, 774 million or 51.9% of that is a foreign lifetime gross. So we'll see where everything lands. So that's those are the numbers from Box Office Mojo. That's where we stand. So domestically, for weekend, the month, the year, and all that. So let us know your thoughts here. Please check us out on Instagram at Geek Homeworld. Go to YouTube. Please like and subscribe. We're really looking for some subs over there on YouTube, and we really appreciate everybody and your positive feedback on all the social media. But YouTube, go over there, like and subscribe, smash that thumbs up button on the video. And I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I know it was a little bit longer than most of them, but I just wanted to go over, look where we are on the box office, and we'll do something like this hopefully later on in the year and see where we end up with all the bigger releases. But before everything really piled on for the year, I wanted to see where we've been through the pandemic and where, box office wise, and where the numbers are adding up and ending up. So thank you everybody for listening, and I'm Ed, and this is Geek Homeworld. Please check us out on our social medias. Follow, like, subscribe on all of that. Instagram as well, Geek Homeworld, Twitter, Geek Homeworld. Check out Exploring with Us. It's on the Geek Homeworld feed there, so you could just go to the YouTube channel, it'll be easier, or geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. That's our main site for the Geek Homeworld podcast and the Exploring with Us podcast. So you can check out those two things. We got a lot of other stuff coming. Got a lot of other surprises and great content coming. I have a whole series. It's going to be several episodes of the podcast. It'll be very fascinating. We're trying to figure it out, but we've had the list for a while, and we just got to rework some of the later years, including this year or whatever. But we're going to be coming out with, I'm just going to announce it now. I've announced it before, but I did kind of take a year off from podcasting there for, I don't know, reasons. I guess hard to talk about the film industry when there wasn't much going on. But we are going to be doing a decade by decade, from the beginning of actual film being a thing in theaters, going back to the very beginning. We're going to be doing a decade by decade. We'll do episode. Each episode, I guess, will be a decade. That's what the plan is right now. But we're going to be going through the box office. Or no, not a box office necessarily, but we're actually going through what our favorite films are, and of the decades, our top 10 essentially of each decade of film. So that's something I've been looking forward to doing, and something we were going to do well over a year or so ago, almost 2 years at this point. So, but that's coming up this year in 2023. So that's the plan. So I'm super excited about that, plus a lot of other content. So please check out our social media and follow us. And thank you very much. I know this is a long-winded episode. I know I said I'm going to end it, and so I'm going to end it now. But thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody subscribing. Thank you for listening to the Geek Homeworld. And I'm Ed Ciucevich. Thank you now. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, Savage Tech Man. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on iTunes and leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.